Peter's going to do a plenary paper tomorrow on some of his own work on education, propaganda, this kind of thing. His book is on sale. You can order it for a really steep discount out there. I really recommend it. But you know, Peter, last night, you slipped out of here before you were given one of what we think of as our Nobel Prizes. And so I'm just going to unveil it to you, even though all these people saw it last night. But we gave you this recognition award, which I'm now going to read once more out loud and give it to you. And I don't want you to I don't want to break you up into tears before you have to leave this panel. But here's what it says. The International Jacques Ellul Society gratefully recognizes and salutes Peter K. Fallon for his distinguished service as pathfinding scholar and author on media ecology, communications, and propaganda, co-organizer of the 2024 IJES conference at Roosevelt University, Chicago, Illinois. Peter, we're so grateful for you, and we want you to hang this on your wall. Now it's you.
Now I have to cry.
Yes.
Good morning, everybody. And sorry about last night. I'm old and a long COVID sufferer, and long days get me down. But I'm happy to be, I jumped at the chance to chair a panel on technology, communication, and political dysfunction. They're like my three middle names. And today we've got, I hope, it's not going to be formal presentations per se. Each of our panelists is going to make a statement, relatively brief. I'll ask them some, what I hope are coherent questions, and then we'll open it up to all of you. I would like this to be as informal as possible, so it's not going to be one speaker questions, second speaker questions. We're just going to talk each for 10 or 15 minutes, and then we'll have the discussion. Our three presenters are, and I'm very happy to have, my colleague David Faris, Associate Professor of Political Science here at Roosevelt University, where he teaches Egyptian and Middle Eastern politics, as well as U.S. politics, elections, and foreign policy. He is the author of 2013's Dissent and Revolution in a Digital Age, Social Media, Blogging, and Activism in Egypt, 2018's It's Time to Fight Dirty, How Democrats Can Build a Lasting Majority in American Politics. How's that going?
It's in the fiction section now.
And The Kids Are All Left, How Young Voters Will Unite America. And he is a contributing writer for The Week. Almantas Samalavicius, architectural historian and critic, professor at Vilnius Gediminas Technical University in Lithuania, where he teaches architectural aesthetics and criticism, urban theory, and aesthetics of landscapes, and leads graduate seminars on post-colonialism and media studies. He is the author of some 14 books, and if I name them all, the session will be over. He's served several terms as president of Lithuanian PEN and PEN International, and is editor-in-chief of the Journal of Architecture and Urbanism. And Doug Hill, a journalist and independent scholar who has been studying the history and philosophy of technology for more than 25 years. He is the author of Not So Fast, Thinking Twice About Technology, published by the University of Georgia Press. And he is currently working on a book about the life and thought of Max Weber. And I thought we'd start with David.
Do I need one of these here?
Yes.
Is it working?
Yes.
Okay, awesome. Well, first of all, thanks for having me here. Thanks, Peter, for inviting me to be on this panel. I'm sure you've been welcome to Roosevelt many times, but we're also happy to have you here at Roosevelt University. I spend a lot of, I'm really excited because this is the first time I've talked about anything in like 2.5 weeks other than whether Joe Biden's going to drop out of the race. So this is a really exciting moment for me to get to talk about something slightly different. So we're here to talk about technology and political dysfunction. So let me just talk about political dysfunction for a second in the United States. We have multiple sort of intersecting problems in US politics right now, many of which are related to one another, but are not necessarily caused by one another. The deepest, probably the most, the one you're most familiar with is just political polarization, right? Political polarization means not necessarily that we are closely divided, which we also are, but that our two political parties are moving further and further apart from one another ideologically. And over the past 20 or 30 years, like basically my entire conscious lifetime, it has made it very, very difficult for the two parties to cooperate to make the American political system work as it was designed. Right? And you can see that dysfunction on display in all kinds of different ways that are distinct from the other major problems in our system right now, which are things like mutual toleration, institutional forbearance, like stuff that you read in How Democracies Die. But the dysfunction is actually really caused by hyperpartisanship and polarization. Right? And that is a problem that has gotten worse and worse and worse over the years. I look forward to talking with everybody about how technology may be exacerbating some of those polarization problems, contributing to them. I don't think they're causing them, but I do think certainly some of the emergent technologies are making our predicament a little bit worse because it's making it much more difficult for people to even breathe the same air, culturally and politically, to read the same things, or even to understand where the other person is coming from. It's a problem that's exacerbated by partisan sorting. First of all, welcome to Chicago. I just challenge you to find a Republican within 20 yards of the place. It would be very difficult to do. I have one Republican friend basically in the entire world right now, and it's not by choice, right? It's just this is my social milieu right here in downtown Chicago, right? And this is a place that's 85 to 90% Democratic when it comes to election time. This is not a conscious process, right? Like, this is not like millions of people were like, I don't want to live in the exurbs anymore. I want to be near people like me. It seems to have been a more organic process that unfolded over a course of many years. And it has left us, I think, with a deep void of mutual understanding of one another's goals and principles, our deep narratives about politics and about American society. So that void of understanding, you can see it every single day on the floor of Congress, where our two political parties are more hostile to one another than at any time since the US Civil War. And I don't say that lightly. I don't think we're on the verge of a civil war necessarily, right? But like the level of hostility, tension, misunderstanding, the sense that like the other political party is not a legitimate actor in our political system is something that I think that you can feel every single day in our politics. And it contributes to a sense that the upcoming election is existential. Okay? And whatever side that you are on in this election, I think that you probably do feel that the stakes of it are existential. And I don't think it's a very healthy development for a political system to be constantly having elections where the stakes are considered existential by all the political actors in the system. Right? Because at some point, one of those actors is going to lose that election and then conclude that the solution to their problems is outside the realm of normal politics. It's outside the realm of our constitutional order and the rules that bind us together into the system, many of which are antiquated, but have functioned more or less as intended for 150 years or so. And it is those institutions also that I think are exacerbating some of our difficulties. We have a series of, and I've written about this a lot, counter-majoritarian institutions that tend to produce political majorities that lack public opinion majorities, right, or lack the support of a majority of the American people. The most visible of those antiquated institutions is the Electoral College, which has twice this century produced a president that lacks a majority or even a plurality of the popular vote in our elections. But that's not the only antiquated institution, right? Like, there are a whole host of things, from the Supreme Court to the United States Senate, to the way that we draw our district lines here in the United States, that very few people, I think, would consciously choose to put into place. If you were to sit down and rewrite the American Constitution, which is not a thing I necessarily recommend that we do. Like, if you want to talk about existential stakes, just let's have a new constitutional convention. It would be like such a nightmare. But the reality is that we have a series of institutions that is not necessarily fit for purpose in our moment. We're living in a very perilous moment, and our institutions are not serving us well. Our political parties are not serving us well. Our patterns of interaction and settlement are not serving us well, and that has left us in a moment where many people on both sides of the aisle believe that their counterparts are not just committed to winning an election and putting a policy platform in place, but to effectively eliminating them and running the country as a single-party dictatorship of some sort, right? And it's possible that both of those perceptions are exaggerated or wrong, and we can talk about that. But the reality is that's what it feels like right now in U.S. politics. And maybe that's just the people I hang out with, right? In my bubble here in Chicago. But I do think that the perception of danger and the perception of extremely high and unpleasant tensions is palpable. It has come into our personal lives, where there's a lot of political science out there about how people don't want their children to marry people from the other party. And that's actually a greater fear at this point than any other thing, that whatever you fear about your kid's partner coming home, this is the biggest fear of them all. You know what I mean? Bring home whoever you want, except a Republican, right? You can do anything that you want except marry a Democrat. That's the thing that'll get you cast out of polite society. And those tensions are not healthy. I was asked recently, what does a healthy political system look like? And I was like, not this, right? A healthy political system is one in which competition is over policy, right, or ideology. And when you lose an election, as just happened in the United Kingdom, seemingly without the massive, massive stakes that are in place for this election in the US, the losers get out of the way, the party leaders resign, and they say, okay, well, we'll get another shot in 3, 4, or 5 years. Right? And that's just not the attitude that you feel in American politics right now. I don't think that conservatives all over the United Kingdom were weeping on their way to work a couple of days ago. Right? As in the same way that whoever loses this election in the United States, there's going to be a pall of depression and fear that falls over the communities where people support the losing candidate or the losing party. So I'll stop there. I don't want to go on and on. I'm a guest here, so I want to turn the microphone over to my esteemed colleagues here. But I did want to sort of lay out the picture of where we appear to be in American politics. What is the nature of the dysfunction? And I wish I had an easy way out for us, but I don't. And I'll just say for the Q&A, any intersection of technology in this dysfunction, and of course, everybody else to speak to that. So thanks so much for listening to me, and I look forward to